aborting more than 1 of every 4 pregnancies, creating human clones, eliminating our elderly with euthanasia. Is this how we should deal with human life? Find out how you can make a difference in changing our culture in this edition of Life Matters. Brian Johnston is the Western Director of the National Right to Life Committee. He has served in many capacities while advocating for innocent lives, as California Commissioner on Aging, as Chairman of the California Pro-Life Council, on the board of the National Legal Center for the Medically Dependent and Disabled. And now here's our host, Brian Johnston.
Welcome back to Life Matters, your program on life, culture, and the battle of ideas. And it's a very real battle of ideas. Those of you who have been listening know that the laws that are passed in Sacramento and Washington, D.C., and even in your city councils, etc., all they are ideas that are enforced. So it's critically important that we pay attention to the laws and understand the ideas behind the laws. And that's what our program is about, to help equip you, particularly in the battle for life. Right now, it's mid-May. We're recording in Sacramento, California, your state capital. And I'm joined by Ashley McPartlin, who is our legislative coordinator for California Pro-Life. Ashley and I have been talking about bills for a while. Say hello, Ashley.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. We are at the beginning of a 2-year session. The way laws work in California, we are a bicameral legislature. Ideas are put forward by lawmakers in each of the 2 bodies, the Assembly or the Senate. Right now in California, there's some pretty strange ideas being kicked around, and you have to realize that. If you want to have an influence on these ideas, you have to know what they are, and you have to know when and how to stop them. So we're at the beginning of a 2-year cycle. Every 2 years, there's elections. And by the way, that's a chance. That's where you can really influence things, because you can hire new lawmakers every 2 years. But if you haven't been paying attention to what they've been doing, if you don't understand the wacky ideas sometimes that go forward, you won't care and you won't have a voice. So it's important that you pay attention to the laws that are being proposed, that you speak out about the laws, and then every 2 years, try to get in people who have good ideas. That's how America's made, and we want to invite you into that process. So right now in California, there are several bills that impact directly on the right to life issue. One that we were just talking about was SB 562, and I'm going to have Ashley talk about it for a little bit. And you're going to hear something very similar. It has to do with health care and who pays for your health. Before we get into detail, think about this. You actually live inside your body. That's right. You live inside your body. And the health of your body is really very important, because once it loses its health, you die. And folks don't realize who makes those decisions is very important. Who decides on your health care? So tell us about SB 562, Ashley.
Right, that's an excellent point. Basically, SB 562, you'll hear a lot about it in the news. It's also dubbed the single-payer system or universal health care. It's the state's proposition to go to a single-payer system in California. And this does exist to some degree in various other forms that exist already. It's in Medicaid. It's in other state-run programs. But this would include any kind of medical service, inpatient care, outpatient care, any kind of medicine, or virtually every level of health care for every resident of California, including, notwithstanding your legal immigration status. So everyone living in California would fall under this bill, and every level of their health care would be included. So what this does essentially is it takes into account a balance between funding for the health care and what they're willing to cover under this plan. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, it comes down to an economic balance. It's how much are you willing to pay to provide the medical care that you need.
That's right.
And when that happens, Brian, you mentioned that these bills are proposed by people who have some wacky ideas. And wacky or not, it's an idea that's not founded with any kind of logical plan in place.
That's right.
So when you pursue something, whether the idea behind it is good or bad, and you don't account for any of the ramifications, then you're going to absolutely run into different issues, including the monetization of life.
Exactly. That's exactly right. What we're looking at is the government would take care of the health of your body. What that means is when you get really sick and you may be a little bit expensive for them, they have to decide whether you are worth it. And that's a dramatic change in the nature of medicine. It isn't even the doctors then who make the decisions. It's the bureaucrats. It's those who have to pinch the pennies. Everywhere in the world that government-sponsored single-payer care has gone into effect, it means rationing. And some of you might say, oh, it seems to work in Canada. Well, I have family in the UK. I have friends and family in Canada. The best illustration of why it doesn't work is actually a town in the United States. Buffalo, New York. The single greatest income stream for the city of Buffalo, New York is medical tourism. People from Canada wait in queues. I have a dear friend of mine I used to teach with, David Warner, who was teaching in Canada, and he got cancer. And he would tell me the stories. And he was locked in to a system where you'd come back every 6 months for your checkup. Well, there's a certain point where you don't come back because the queues, the lines for the important healthcare providers, there's only so many specialists under those systems. There's only so much they can handle. And so you may not hear a lot about it, but one of the reasons you don't hear a lot about it from people is because dead men tell no tales. And sadly, some folks just accept it. But if Americans don't understand what it means, it's a dramatic loss of the freedoms you now have and what is really the best healthcare system on earth that we have. And contrary to what you've heard about Cuba, I know that, who's the guy who made the comedy? Michael Moore, which is pure hyperbole. Every communist system that has adopted this, it ends up rationing. If you remember the Communist Party, you might get a little bit better treatment. But this is government-sponsored health care. Government decides what happens with the health of your body. And what that means, they decide what happens with your life. So this is very serious. And here in California, it would sponsor Planned Parenthood, abortion. There's no restrictions on the abortion funding. That's your tax money that goes into Planned Parenthood. That would continue, and it would even grow. Under Obamacare, Planned Parenthood was one of the main implementers, and they had a lot of say in the language of the Obamacare plan. They intended to expand greatly their system so they would be pseudo-medical centers. Literally, just like you see medical centers in many large cities in California, Planned Parenthood intends to build medical centers where they would have quasi-health care, but definitely have a lot of abortion. And if you know anything about the history of Russia, that's what happened under the Soviet Union. That abortion was the most commonly provided form of medical treatment. And any type of invasive or intervention type health care in the Soviet system became very rare. And it really is a very dangerous proposal. So that bill is SB 562. And unfortunately, because of the preponderance of radical Democrats in California lawmaking, we really have to fight that. And we may get some moderate Democrats who understand the danger. I understand Dianne Feinstein has expressed concern about this.
One of California's leading Democrats has pulled on the halters, urged sitting Democrats to rethink their approach and to think of the ramifications of this bill without any thought to how it's going to be paid for, what the effects of it will be. Yes, our leading Democrats are pulling the reins in.
So we have some hope of stopping this, but you as a citizen need to know about it. You need to contact your state legislators, your senators, and assembly members and urge them to vote no on SB 562.
You're listening to Life Matters. If you have questions or comments for Life Matters, call 800-924-2490. Give us your name and the town you're calling from and a quick question or comment. If you'd like more information on the current threat posed by euthanasia, for any donation of $15 or more, we will send you the dynamic book, Death as a Salesman, What's Wrong with Assisted Suicide, by Brian Johnston. This dynamic book has been instrumental in opening the eyes of individuals and lawmakers across the nation and around the world. Call us at 800-924-2490, and we'll be glad to send it out to you. or visit us online at californiaprolife.org. Life Matters is a production of California Pro-Life Council, the state affiliate of National Right to Life. And now back to more Life Matters with Brian Johnston.
Let's go over a couple of other bills. Another one is
SB 309, which establishes a specialty license plate celebrating abortion in California.
Yeah, pretty amazing. There are 27 states that currently have Choose Life or Celebrate Life license plates. And as you know, in California, I think we're the state that started it with Saving the Whales back in the 70s. People confuse them with vanity plates. You can actually order your own vanity plate if it's available to spell out a name or something like that. But these are actually sponsored plates for issues. And they create a government fund that the DMV oversees. And I know there's an environmental plate. There's a couple of other plates that are official California state-sponsored license plates. This creates one that is a reproductive rights license plate. And it creates a government fund that gives yet more money to Planned Parenthood and other abortion providers. You should know this if you don't already. Planned Parenthood is already a government-sponsored industry. The abortion industry gets millions of dollars of your state funds to promote abortion, to perform the abortion, to pay for all of its resources, the PG&E bill. They have different funds they pay this from. So the actual fund for paying the abortionist, the guy with blood on his gloves, that comes out of Medi-Cal funds. Then there's the funds that pay for their family planning services. And what that means, it pays for everything else, for the staff, for the advertising, for the light bill, for the rent. And that's your state government funds paying for this industry. This license plate adds yet more funds, and it's government advertising for abortion. So we're going to urge people, if you would, contact your state legislators regarding SB
309.
SB 309, license plate is, quote, celebrating choice, but you and I know what that really means. So what's another bill that we're looking at?
Another one we're looking at is Senate Bill 320, which would require state universities and community colleges to provide chemical abortifacients to students. It actually requires that all university healthcare systems, things that students pay for through their tuition, to provide these pills that drastically alter a woman's body, a woman's reproductive system, and kills a fully formed, fully developed human life.
That's right. And a lot of people tend to confuse RU46 with the morning after pill. They're dramatically different. The morning after pill is what's available in a lot of rape kits at police stations, in emergency rooms. And what that does, and we'll talk a little bit about birds and bees, I'm surprised how little people understand about reproduction. But a child isn't necessarily conceived just because a man and a woman have had relations. The conception can take place even days later. So it's when the sperm meets the egg. And that's a process that can be intervened with. And when that happens, that's called contraception. That prevents conception. And the morning after kit, that's its principal goal, is to prevent conception. That isn't what we're talking about. RU486 is an abortifacient. So it is only taken when the woman has missed her first period. That's usually her first sign that she's pregnant, that the baby's really there. If she hasn't yet missed her first period, then she's not quite sure she's pregnant. And there's other things that can be checked into. Oh, maybe I will get pregnant. Again, we can talk about the difference between contraception and abortion is vast. It's a vast difference. Please don't confuse those issues. The child is already there. The child has a beating heart. And what Ashley was talking about is the way this works is it only indirectly goes after the child. Its principal purpose is to change a woman's body. A woman is designed to carry a child. Us guys can't do that. Women are awesome. They can bring forth life. And what this drug does is it attacks her system, and it changes her system against nature. And it unnaturally, it's a very powerful artificial steroid that causes her to cease being a mother. Women have died from this in France, by the way, because it's a dramatic change to what's happening with her. Again, this is against nature. And what happens then is the child withers in her womb. The child literally dies of malnourishment and lack of hydration and then is expelled. And she has to face that, and that's very difficult because she was told it was a blob of tissue, and now she's the one that has to look at this child with arms and legs, and it's very, very difficult. So that's RU486.
And that's extreme physical pain in addition to the mental pain.
Yes.
It was described by one of the organizations that came to witness against the bill that this woman who takes the pill will experience hours of incredible pain after releasing her dead baby.
That's right.
And, proponents of the bill will liken this medication to help with erectile dysfunction or anything like that. And, they keep pushing this false narrative.
That's right.
That it only impacts a small number of people. They downplay the deaths associated with this pill and completely ignore the fact that this is killing and affecting young, healthy, vibrant women.
That's right. I think it's critically important. This is tied to, Ashley, it's such a good point, the false idea, and again, we're dealing with the realm of ideas, that somehow men and women are really the same. Mm-hmm. They're not. They're not. Nature tells us that. And yet there's an ideology. And that's why this is like erectile dysfunction drugs. This is, men have this and women have that. So there's a reason we had Mother's Day not too long ago. There's something incredible and spectacular about women and about being a mother. And it's very different. So make sure that in the battle of ideas, you don't get caught up in the simplistic basic arguments. Again, I'll use the phrase, the feminist worldview, the radical feminist worldview is deeply flawed. As we know, they define freedom to kill their child. That's femininity to them. It's, again, the antithesis. We're going to take a break for a bit, but that bill is called SB 320, and that actually looks like it's going to go into a 2-year cycle. We talked about how it works, so we're going to have time to deal with that in more depth. When we come back, we're going to deal with some of the bills that are still cooking and are pushing forward at this moment, and you're listening to Life Matters.
You're listening to Life Matters. Are the average members of your church ready to face the seductive allure offered by compassion in dying? If you ask them, we think you'll find that they are not. Many well-meaning Christians are easily swayed by the emotional arguments put forth by euthanasia advocates. We have resources to help you meet this challenge. Call us and ask for our group education packet, which contains the powerful documentary Death as a Salesman, starring Joni Eareckson and Brian Johnston. Call California Pro-Life at 800-924-2490 or visit us online at californiaprolife.org. Life Matters is a production of the California Pro-Life Council, the state affiliate of National Right to Life. And now back to more Life Matters with Brian Johnston.
Welcome back to Life Matters. We're talking about the bills that become laws, ideas that are enforced, and why you have to pay attention to them because these are your lawmakers. You hire them every 2 years, and they're making laws for your state. So I'm here with Ashley McPartlin, and we are talking about the bills that concern life here in California. Give us the next one we should know about.
Yeah, so SB 481, this one allows nursing homes without any other oversight to declare patients unfit to make their own medical decisions. And this includes implementing medical procedures, which can also include ending a patient's life via denial of fluids or other end-of-life drugs. This is very similar to another bill making its way through the Oregon legislature.
Basically, you're hitting it right on the head. Many listeners know that I am a former commissioner on aging for California and have dealt with this issue. Some of you read my book, Death as a Salesman, What's Wrong with Assisted Suicide. Now, assisted suicide is literally the use of medicine to attack a patient, to kill the patient. And it isn't truly a suicide if you think about it because this person is not acting alone. The agent, the assistant, that's what's changed in the law. There's a third party. The assistant, often a physician, provides poison, and that use of poison is designed to kill. So euthanasia, albeit supposedly voluntary euthanasia, is legal in California now, and it's legal in Oregon. But there's another aspect of this, and that is killing through denial of food and fluids. Those who remember the Terri Schiavo case years ago, where she actually, because of a medical error, oxygen was cut off to her brain, and so she was in a semi-competent circumstance. She could communicate, but not eloquently, and that can happen to you. There's people who have been in comas and have snapped out of comas years later, and they say that they heard and understood what was happening to them. But if someone is medically dependent, there's a tendency to view them as disposable. And what this particular bill does is it doesn't mention any of these things. And you'll find that, especially on the abortion issue as well, they don't say abortion. They'll use code words, reproductive rights, or choice. A lot of the words we've talked about in the past and you're aware of, they don't even want to talk about abortion. And I assure you that the medical profession doesn't want to talk about euthanasia. So they'll use other phrases like comfort care. And what that means is they're not going to do anything for that patient. I've been in many nursing homes. I was on the board of examiners of California nursing homes. And many nursing homes, when they make medical decisions, they don't ask for intervention. They don't have heart transplants in nursing homes, folks. The most common medical decision made in any nursing home is nothing. That's the medical decision we're going to take. Nothing will be done for this patient, and that includes, in a no code, no food, no water. They may give them de minimis drugs to actually keep them quiet and to aid in suppressing their heart rate and their breathing. So if you're dehydrated and you have drugs that depress your breathing, which many opioids do, it leads to your death. So these are not decisions to benefit a patient. And if you recall, the Hippocratic Oath has always required doctors to only make decisions of a beneficial nature, but never harm. That code has been lost in the medical profession now.
And I just wanted to speak on that misconception of the talking points, just reinforce that. While I was presenting during one of the committee hearings, after my presentation, the author of the bill kind of froze. He paused and he said, this bill was intended to add an extra layer of protection, not take it away, because it's having the physician notify a patient when they're declared incompetent and giving them an option to pursue to overturn that. But if you are truly incompetent, you can't pursue those measures. There's no way of self-defense. There's no way to overturn that. And so unless the bill specifically says that it cannot perform end-of-life procedures that, takes away food, takes away nutrition, or actively seeks to kill a patient, then there really is no protection. There's no added protection here.
That's right. And the author, by the way, many of you who follow politics, it's State Senator Pan. State Senator Pan is the leading sponsor for all Planned Parenthood legislation. He has come to embody the new age of medicine. He is a doctor senator, but none of the medical ethics that you and I grew up with are embodied in the kind of bills and ideas he's putting forward. This is a very dangerous bill. And as I said, I have asked Senator Pan to have amendments, as Ashley mentioned. Okay, if that's the case, then make sure it prohibits anything that would harm a patient. Well, they don't want to have that amendment. Also, there are two entities in the state of California to protect someone who's medically dependent. One is the Adult Protective Service agencies, which are in every county, and they're to protect adults because nursing home abuse is huge. It's skyrocketing. He won't accept them being notified. There's also the Ombudsman program designed for nursing homes. He won't notify them. So this allows people who want to make decisions against the wishes or without any other known wishes of a patient. It declares them incompetent, and then you hand them a note. Think about that for a second. You declare this person is completely incompetent, and here's a note to prove it. Now we're legally free to do whatever we want. And the absurdity of this is frightening, and yet it's moving forward, and that is SB 481. And we urge people to contact their legislators regarding Senate Bill 481. We're going to quickly go. There's one good bill we want to celebrate, and that is a Senate constitutional amendment.
Yes, that's SCA 7. That repeals the failed multi-billion-dollar embryonic stem cell and cures Act. And Brian, I'll let you talk more about that.
Those of you who remember years ago when Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor, a multi-billion-dollar stem cell cures act that would only use embryonic stem cells. We've had discussion on our program before. That has only led to failure. And yet $6 billion a year goes to that of our state money. And even some people in that industry recognize that it has to go to better use of stem cells. Adult stem cells are actually very effective, but this money can't go to that research. So that's SCA 7. We urge support of that. Senator Morlock from Orange County is the sponsor, and that's SCA, Senate Constitutional Amendment 7. And we urge folks to contact their legislators to support that. So very quickly, I believe we've got...
The last one on our list is Senate Bill 743. We urge you to oppose. It ensures government funding of abortion under all Medi-Cal providers and Planned Parenthood.
So what's happened is that this is a reaction to the Trump election, and they're very concerned that federal government money is going to be cut off, and hopefully it will. But in the meantime, they want to get as much California money as possible. Literally multiple millions is already flowing into the abortion industry. They want to get more, and this is a way of making sure that they are topped up, that they don't lose any money at all, and California would make up the difference. So these are important bills, and that is Senate Bill 743. Ashley, thanks so much for joining me.
Brian, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
We really appreciate your commitment to life, and if you have any further questions, make sure you go to the California Pro-Life Council website. That's californiaprolife.org, and send us an email. Make sure that you're following the issues of life, because life matters, and you're in a battle. And if you don't understand these ideas, you're going to lose. We want to make sure that you and your loved ones continue to have the protections that we've been given in our laws that our founders established, and unless we fight for them, we'll lose them. Institutionalized nursing home neglect is one of the great scourges quietly happening across our nation and here in California. Senate Bill 481 is a very bad bill. It allows nursing homes to declare a conscious and non-terminal patient to be incompetent. They then are free to take away their food and water. We want to urge you to oppose Senate Bill 481. If you don't know who your state legislator is, you can call our 800 number, 800-924-2490. We will get a note of opposition on your behalf to your state legislator. If you give us your email, we'll then tell you how your state legislator votes on this important bill, Senate Bill 481. Please call 800-924-2490. Give us your street address with zip code, and we'll tell you what happens with Senate Bill 481.
To subscribe to the Life Matters podcast, go to lifematters.life, where you'll find out a lot more about life, culture, and the battle of ideas. Life Matters is a production of the California Pro-Life Council, the state affiliate of National Right to Life. For more information, go to californiaprolife.org.